Today, 1 in every 2 people living in Strathclyde stays in a council house. Council housing is found in all types of areas: towns, villages, cities, and on islands. Council housing exists in many different forms: 4 in a block, tower block, cottage, and tenement. And council housing meets the needs of all kinds of people: families, young people, elderly, and the handicapped. But it hasn't always been around. Previously, nearly all housing was rented from a private landlord. It was the condition of this housing and the unscrupulous actions of the landlords which led to the creation of council housing in the 1920s. In 1917, a Royal Commission on Housing in Scotland described the housing of the early 20th century as being packed too close together, receiving little fresh air or sunlight, having poor standards of sanitation and refuse disposal, being foul-smelling and grossly overcrowded. It was not uncommon for as many as 5 people to occupy a single room. Some people today remember what conditions were like.
Well, I was born no far from here, and my mum had 14 of a family, and we all stayed in a room and kitchen. And by the time they were condemned, there were nothing but cloaks and bugs in them.
Where I stayed used to be an outside toilet. There was no such thing as hot water or anything else. In fact, when we wanted a bath, we used to have to go and pay sixpence from the welfare to get a bath and get hot water. The conditions were really bad.
The Royal Commission found that these conditions seriously threatened people's health by increasing the rate of infection, epidemic, and premature death. The solution proposed by the Royal Commission was that housing should be provided directly by the state through local authorities. This marked the beginning of council housing. Its aim was to provide decent, affordable accommodation that could meet the needs of all, irrespective of income. And it would be built with public subsidy. This was the basis of the 1919, 1923, and 1924 Housing Acts. The council housing built under these early Acts of Parliament is still among the most popular housing even today. The introduction of council housing led to substantial improvements in public health. Some people still remember.
Such a big change that you couldn't realise that you were having your own bathroom, your own bedroom, instead of having to share a bed with maybe other 2 sisters or something like that.
The potential of council housing has not always been fulfilled, but district councils are still striving to provide good quality housing built to a high standard. However, council housing is now facing a crisis. Much of what has already been achieved is under threat, and there is the prospect of further decay and decline, not only of the houses, but of the quality of life of the people who live in them, the tenants. This threat is due to the lack of investment. District councils are responsible for building and repairing council houses, but they do not control how much is spent on this investment. The government tells district councils how much they can spend. This is called the capital allocation. As part of the recent cuts in public expenditure in Scotland, housing in particular has suffered badly. Since 1979, 73% of all cuts in public expenditure in Scotland have been in money available for housing. Between 1979 and 1985, the government has reduced council housing expenditure in Strathclyde from £216 million to £120 million after allowing for inflation. If investment had stayed on the 1979 level, an extra £482 million in real terms would have been spent on council housing in Strathclyde. Not only is there less money, but district councils are faced with other problems when they want to invest in council housing. A large part of what the government now allows them to spend has to come from selling existing council houses, and this has implications. If income from sales goes down, they'll have less to spend. And to build one new council house, district councils need to sell at least 3 of their existing houses. The rest of capital allocation is a permission from government to take out loans. These have to be paid for by district councils with added interest, and this is expensive. 3 in every £5 spent by district councils on housing goes on paying off loans. The reduction and other constraints on investment comes at a critical time when much council housing urgently requires attention. Houses, people and employment are all affected. Figures provided by the district councils give some idea of what needs to be done in Strathclyde. 1 in every 2 council houses needs to be modernised, a total of 224,000 houses, which require replacement of kitchen, bathroom, heating, wiring, and many other repairs, repainting, new rendering, and improvement of common areas. Less money for district councils often means modernisation, which had previously been programmed, is delayed. In some cases, there's no prospect at all. 32,000 system-built and other non-traditional forms of housing require major structural repairs. Less money for district councils often means these are put back or receive only minimal attention. 33,000 new council houses require to be built in the next 5 years to meet the housing shortage. Council house new building has collapsed. In 1984, only 489 new council houses were built, a tenth of the number constructed 10 years ago. Less money for district councils means that the building of new council houses is reduced, or in some cases, stops altogether. It's not only the houses which are affected, the people suffer too. 1 in every 2 council houses is affected by damp and condensation. These conditions have an adverse effect on tenants' health.
Well, it's affected me terrible, so it is. And I can't, at night, I have to get up through the night. I'm that sick with the dampness. It's gone from my chest. And the doctor said, need to get out it. And they might sorted the dampness. Oh, it'll just come back through again.
And also this dampness all the time. See, you're doing wallpaper and the next couple of months later it's all damp again. The water's pouring in and it's very, very depressing.
As well as increasing the risk of asthma, flu, coughs and stress, damp conditions can give rise to other problems like fuel poverty and infestation. 1 in every 7 people staying in publicly owned houses is overcrowded.
Oh, there's myself, my wife, I've got 3 boys and 3 girls. Now the 3 girls are in the front bedroom. It's only a small bedroom. They have 2 beds in there which they share between the 3 of them. And the boys, the small bedroom, and the backing here again, just 3 small single beds would they have to share.
2 boys and a girl. The girl's 17, the boy's 16, and they're staying in the same room together. And the other wee boy's in beside me and my wife, you know. It's just, I feel it's really out of order, you know.
In 1984, more than 55,000 people were on waiting lists for council housing, a number equivalent to the entire population of Greenock. Many will have to wait more than a year before they get a council house, and some a lot longer. A further 10,000 elderly people are on the waiting list for sheltered housing. Sheltered housing is greatly valued by those people fortunate enough to get a place.
The comfort of selling the complex here is great, absolutely. I mean when you reach the ripe old age of 80, you deserve a wee bit of comfort, don't you? Well, we're definitely getting it done here.
Less money for district councils to spend on council housing also means fewer jobs. Unemployment in Strathclyde has risen sharply since 1979. With the fall in housing investment, the building and construction industry has contracted with the estimated loss of 24,000 jobs. At present, there are an estimated 31,000 construction workers unemployed in Strathclyde. It costs the country £195 million in benefits and lost taxes to keep them on the dole. Yet there is clearly plenty of work to do on council housing. There's no sure way in Scotland of measuring the true extent of problems in council housing. In England, Wales and Northern Ireland, house condition surveys are carried out, but not so far in Scotland. But from their own figures, district councils estimate they need at least £392 million a year for at least the next 5 years. The crisis may cost even more than district councils estimate. Alternative sources estimate over £600 million is needed. For the 1985-86 period, the government is allowing only £120 million to district councils to invest in council housing. This means district councils are unable to do everything that needs to be done. One housing manager explains the dilemma.
We are likely to receive somewhere in the region of £16 million as against an estimated and calculated requirement of £94 million. This will mean that essential work like wind and watertight repairs, repairs to the fabric of buildings, window replacement, treating asbestos-related complaints, condensation, dampness complaints, which are rife in district council houses, all these programmes would suffer because of the district council's inability to input sufficient resources to carry out the remedial work required. This will inevitably lead to the continued deterioration of council houses, and what I would say is that this is not a problem that can be put off. The crisis is here now.
Even within their very limited budgets, district councils are demonstrating their commitment and skills in providing good quality council housing, rectifying past problems of age, poor design and inadequate maintenance. But this work represents only small and isolated examples of what could and should be done. New approaches are being adopted by district councils involving their tenants at the planning level of investment. In this area, the district council are being forced to demolish the non-traditional all-lit houses because they are structurally unsafe and too expensive to repair. Instead, plans are going ahead to build new houses with the tenants deciding on design materials, heating and other features.
We're getting a better built house which should probably last better, and if should there be repairs needed, they could follow them up better and not let houses get in the state that some of them have been doing in some areas, providing, of course, the money's always there to do it.
The advantages in the tenants design scheme as far as the tenants are concerned is that we are designing virtually our future homes, and any pitfalls we came across that we were advised on them by the architects, the housing department have been most helpful, but at the end of the day the delivery will be houses that people will enjoy living in.
The outcome certainly looks promising, but it could have severe financial implications for the district council.
The current costs are working in somewhere in the region of £2 million. To date, the District Council, whilst it has received the Scottish Office's blessing in terms of moving ahead as a demolish and rebuild project, has only made a commitment of £300,000 in the current financial year, and it will not make commitments to future years. And that seems to be one of the sad aspects of local government finance at present.
Without a massive increase in investment through the district councils, there will be few other projects like this. Indeed, worse may be ahead if nothing is done. The costs of repair will soar in the long term. First aid maintenance will have to be the order of the day, patching up problems, not solving them. Some homes may not even be safe wind and watertight. In these circumstances, many houses which district councils cannot afford to repair will become unpopular and difficult to let. Lack of investment will mean greater hardship and inconvenience for tenants, putting more pressure on health and welfare services. The longer the housing recession continues, the harder it will be for the construction industry to respond to any increase in investment. Without further investment, there will be no increase in employment. If council housing investment was raised to £392 million, the estimated sum required by the district councils, around 16,300 new jobs could be created. Faced with this situation, a number of local authorities in Strathclyde have combined to form a campaign. Its chairman is Councillor John Ross.
The campaign believes that council housing is facing an urgent crisis and requires immediate attention. Failure to act now is going to cost a lot more money in the future, and it means that people have got to live in miserable conditions until that money is made available. Council housing is a priority, and we cannot afford to ignore it.
The vice chairman is Provost Raymond Robinson.
I would emphasise the uniqueness of this campaign. We have brought together 15 local authorities in Strathclyde region. These include Labour, Conservative and Independent administrations, and this does show the importance that all of us feel of this campaign.
This year, the campaign has drawn up a 7-point plan for action, which it's submitting to the Secretary of State. In its plan, the campaign asks the government to increase annual investment in council housing to at least £392 million. This would enable district councils to begin to respond adequately to the scale and severity of council housing problems. Commit itself to this annual investment in real terms over a 5-year period. Deciding investment on a year-to-year basis causes wastage. Tell district councils how much they'll receive over 5 years. This would allow them to plan ahead and meet local needs. Make investment money available in the form of grants, not loans, thus avoiding the expense of repayment. Give district councils a guaranteed investment. Allocation shouldn't be dependent on income from sales of council houses, as they are difficult to predict and may decrease with time. Not provide resources for Strathclyde at the expense of the rest of Scotland. Total resources should be increased and not reshuffled between areas. Undertake a detailed house condition survey to obtain more comprehensive information on housing.
The campaign believes that if this plan was accepted by the government, it would enable local authorities to properly tackle the problems of council housing.
People have a right to high-quality housing. Not everyone wants or can afford to buy a house of their own. Those who can't have a right to expect decent housing. Council housing has made a massive contribution to improving health and living conditions and can continue to do so.
Well, it's a lovely area to be living in. The houses are very well built. They've all got the modern cones and everything you need.
It's well looked after by the county, you know.
And the people look after it too.
The future of council housing in Strathclyde can only be secured with increased financial support from the government.